Hey folks, I'm sure you saw a few weeks ago that the great John Sykes sadly passed away. Shockingly passed away actually, I had no idea, and a lot of people didn't realise he was ill with cancer. I've been wanting to do something. I thought we'd do a riff video, I thought we'd doing some other things, but what I think I'm going to do here is have a look at John Sykes' recording career, aspects of his playing, his riffs, his solos, his licks, some of the harmony he would use and things, just to get an overall view of what an amazing hard rock guitarist he was, and also to kind of share some things you might not have heard, you might only associate with Whitesnake, etc. But just to kind of, in a way, pay tribute to arguably the kind of quintessential hard rock guitarist, you know, with his open shirt and big hair and that black Les Paul Custom. It's kind of iconic in a way. So let's start right at the beginning with a band called Streetfighter. So John Sykes formed the band Streetfighter with his friend Mervyn Goldsworthy, who later became bassist in Diamond Head and is the bassist with FM at the moment. And basically they were, you know, one of the new wave of British heavy metal kind of bands. But there's kind of one song that features in a compilation album called New Electric Warriors, and this song She's No Angel. I want to listen to Sykes' solo in this. So this is what it sounds like. There you go. So, one thing I think you can hear in this is definitely the Page and Blackmore influences in there, but there's also signs of kind of Sykes' furious kind of picking sort of thing blazing. So normally a lot of players, maybe particularly in the 70s, a lot of blues, all that sort of stuff, the kind of Page influence, I guess. And then you've got the Blackmore, you know, kind of fast picking, and you can hear that in this. There's an element of that as well as that kind of furious picking. You can hear it kind of, you know, with the tone of the amp and he's playing. It comes off the rails a couple of times. If I can find that little rapid bit, where is it? That bit there. And what he's doing sounds like, you know, three-note per string shapes. So this is the thing that you might not have heard players maybe the 70s do as much. This idea of taking a three-note per string shape, you know, and kind of shredding through it like that, and then shift up. I mean, you know, Randy Rhoads, I guess, kind of players like that, and I guess Eddie Van Halen to a certain extent as well was doing kind of wide stretching, you know, per string stuff. But this is a aspect of kind of Sykes playing, and he takes that run. You know, it's E minors, he's kind of doing like 11, 12, 14 on the D and G strings. Then he does 12, 14, 16 in the D. Then he goes up an octave, so you're 14, 15, 17 on the B. 14, 15, 17 E. And then you go up the fret again. And then you've got a classic, you know, as high as note you can get if you've got the, you know, the Les Paul. So it's that kind of frantic, furious kind of playing that suits that new album thing. And that's the kind of the earliest kind of recording we've got with Sykes. And you can hear, again, if I look at this, that, you know, that wide vibrato is there as well. So it's bombastic, you know what I mean? It's not just a kind of tame, bluesy way of playing stuff. There's a lot of kind of like, hard to describe. There's a lot of muscular kind of playing. You know, it's big. wide vibrato, and it's kind of in your face, which is perfect for that new album kind of thing. Now, after Streetfighter, John Sykes was in the band called the Tygers of Pan Tang. So let's listen to them. So John Sykes was in the band the Tygers of Pan Tang, another new album band from 1980 to 82. So he did 2 main albums, and he was on a couple of tracks in the third album. But the first album that he's on, Spellbound, which was released in 81, I want to look at a couple of tracks in that to see some aspects of his playing. First off, I want to listen to the song Gangland and the riff from it, which sounds like this. Yeah, that's a great riff. And what is going on here, and an aspect of Sykes' style, I think, is the use of this. It sounds like a couple of chords there, but it's kind of this idea of not just playing chords in the lower strings, using triad shapes and things. And what he's doing here is basically he's kind of playing like 5th fret, the D, G and B strings here. It does sound like, though, either there's an overdub or there's a guitar part that's also got the 8th fret of the B and E strings, like that, and that comes in the offbeat. Yeah, and then basically you've got open A kind of 5 times. So you're hitting these chords in the offbeat, pretty much with upstroke if you want to play it like that. You can play it with downstrokes as well. Though I think Sykes probably would have played it with an upstroke. And that sound, and then you have hit the A string twice, and then you've got a 3-2-0 in that A string. And this is the other thing that he would intersperse with these riffs, little riffs and twiddles and pull-offs and things down here, just to add kind of interest. So you've got that G power chord here, then you've got, it kind of sounds like a open strings to a D power chord up here. And then there's a little kind of hammer on there before you start the riff again. So the whole thing kind of goes. Yeah, and it's a great riff. So it's not, it's. The new wave of British heavy metal was establishing all of this kind of genre. These power chords, it's, nice A minor kind of stuff. But I think it's really interesting to hear this kind of combination of these kind of triadic type chords and the kind of traditional kind of power chords. Now the other song I want to talk about is a song called Take It from the same album. Here we've got a riff that Sykes wrote again. It's based in these little triad shapes. Is that a Van Halen influence? Maybe. But this, what I'm doing here is playing like an E triad. So I'm barring the 9th fret, D, G and B strings. Go down 2 frets to a D triad. And then you've got this kind of A here. Yeah, but the way it kind of played, I guess the offbeat thing again. And then he has a slide down the E string to kind of get it round again. So it's really interesting to hear. Again, it's these kind of triads in there, and it makes it, even though it's no wobbum kind of band, it adds almost kind of a catchier, kind of less you know, kind of drudgy kind of power chord vibe to it, because you've got this higher register thing, and of course, as we know later on in Sykes playing, that's a kind of big part of his playing. Now, the other interesting thing I want to talk about in this is the solo. So, let me see. Let me put this on here. Okay, so this is Sykes here. You hear that there? Yeah. It's in G. So he's got a little diminished on there. Something along those lines. So he's playing away kind of traditional kind of G pentatonic sort of stuff. And that little sound comes in, which is really cool because it just catches the ear a little bit. And what we're doing there, basically, it sounds like it maybe starts at, so you're thinking G pentatonic minor at the 3rd fret. Yeah. But I'm going to do like a 1-3 hammer on. Yeah. And the thing about like diminished or diminished 7th arpeggios is you're going to move 3 frets from the previous note, or minor thirds. So if I've done this 3rd fret E string, a minor third away from there, or 3 frets is actually 1st fret of the A string. Then I've got 4th fret of the A string. Then I've got 2nd fret of the D string, minor third. 5th fret of the D string, and then 3rd fret of that G string. 6th fret of the G string. So by playing that kind of diminished sound over your kind of tonal root of G, you're getting the flat 5 in there. Flat 3, flat 5, and you got a kind of bright 13th interval in there as well. You know, so it crops up occasionally, and when you hear kind of Sykes soloing, just these little kind of flavors coming in that aren't just your typical diatonic scales or your kind of pentatonics, you know. So after Tygers of Pan Tang, just before he joins a pretty big band, Sykes was contracted to write another song, and he wrote an instrumental piece called Please Don't Leave Me. Big departure from what he'd been playing before. This kind of melodic ballad. Now, obviously, if you know, we'll be getting to Whitesnake, but if you know John Sykes from Whitesnake era, you'd be like, well, of course, you know. But this is interesting. Like, he had this song to record. This is his first solo track, and through connections with producer, he managed to get Phil Lynott to sing on it, and pretty much, you know, most of Thin Lizzy to kind of play on it. What I find interesting about this is obviously this is a first glimpse into this real kind of melodic kind of playing of his, and that little kind of theme. Yeah, this kind of C sharp minor thing, and what he's doing there is he's sliding. You can look at your C sharp like pentatonic minor here, like kind of down at the 4th fret. You're going to slide to the 6th fret, the G string, little staccato feel, and 5 in the B string, then 7 in the B string, staccato feel. Then you get your bend. Then you've got a pull off 7 to 5 back to 7. And then there's a little, you know, and this is the, I find this interesting. These little twiddly bits are very Thin Lizzy, you know. So I don't know if it was written before. I'd assumed that this was an instrumental that was written before and then whatever. But maybe they added the little twiddles, or maybe he was fishing to get into Thin Lizzy. Who knows? But and then this little twiddle here, your hammer, pull off 5 to 7 back to 5, slide back to 4th fret there. Yeah, and then you play 5th fret of that B string, back to 7. then you do 7/9, so you could slide on that B string. I think he's playing it individually there. Or you could play 4th fret of the high E string there, either works. Then you do 6/4 from the G to B string, and 5th fret of that B string, and then another 5/7. And this little bit at the end, you do 5/7 in the B string, back to 5 in the B string, and then you're holding it. Another little kind of Lizzy-esque twiddle. You're holding that 5, then do a hammer and pull off 4, 5, back to 4, and then 6/4 in the G string, and then quick slide into 6th fret that G string there. Really cool kind of simple melody, but this just shows you this kind of ballad writing. Now the solo in this, let's have a listen to the guitar solo here. Yeah, so yeah, that. So basically it's probably neck pickup here. So we've got this massive bend here. So what we're doing here is like, you can think of playing 16th fret the G string, and then doing 15, 17 on that B string there. Whole step bend at the 17th fret, 19th fret, sorry, so it's 16, and then you get 17 to 19th fret there, and then bend up 19th fret that G string. Whole step bend, release it, pull off kind of to that 17th fret, and then come back to it, and then your bend, 2-step bend. Yeah, big up and down like that. You know, if I play that again. It gets the note there again as well. The rest of it. Little pan muted kind of staccato kind of run there. Again, that's something you can hear later on in what he does. It's a bit. That little bit there. So again, this is another, you see Sykes do this kind of runs descending down, and what he's doing here is he's coming down, as I said, it's all C sharp minor, and what he's doing here is he's doing little legato runs, but again it's these little 3-note string shapes, and he's starting off with like 16, 14, 12 on the high E string. You do it twice. Then you're going to do 14, 12, and 11 on the high E string there. So you can go and kind of, you might hear a wee slide in there. Yeah, but I'm now doing 2 of them, 14, 12, 11. Then you go back to 16, 14, and 12th fret, but down the B string. Yeah, or pull offs, just hitting the string twice to get the pull offs. Then I do the little 14, 12, 11 on the B string. But we keep going down, 12, 11, 9. Yeah, so. Yeah, and then you're kind of sliding back from like 10, 9, 7, kind of sliding to the 5th fret there, and then he does something like that there. So it's that kind of vibe, yeah. And that's kind of it's kind of contrast with that really slow kind of emotive bend and stuff at the beginning, and then you get this fiery kind of runs in it, yeah. So after doing this, Fullin asks John Sykes to join Thin Lizzy, and I think John Sykes on the record is saying this was like the highlight of his career, because he was Finland, that was a big hero to him basically. So he joins Thin Lizzy, and then of course they release Thunder and Lightning. So let's have a listen to that. So Thunder and Lightning was released in 1983. Now most of the songs had actually been written before Sykes went to kind of record the album. But he did write Cold Sweat in conjunction with Phil Lynott, and we've actually looked at playing the riff before, so if you want to check out the riff lesson, you can look at it there. One thing I will note, that intro riff, of course, you've got this pinch harmonic kind of screaming out in there, and these harmonics and pick scrapes and slide down the necks are all core to kind of John Sykes' kind of over-the-top hard rock kind of guitar. The guitar is in your face, you know, all these kind of noises and things, and very guitaristic kind of things. And of course, with Lizzy, John Sykes brought this heavier sound to their kind of previous kind of albums, which makes, you know, people regard Thunder and Lightning as a kind of heavier album from Thin Lizzy. Unfortunately, only one album. But what I want to look at with this, though, is this section in the solo. Yeah, so sounds like this. Yeah, some tapping. Now, obviously, since Eddie Van Halen in the late 70s, you know, tapping took on, you know, a kind of life of its own after that. But interestingly, that kind of hearing that type of soloing in a Thin Lizzy context, you know, you wouldn't have heard that up to now. And the way that Sykes tapped is he kind of used the pick rather than his fingers. And what we're doing here is, if you hold the pick kind of like that and hit the side of it, what I'm going to be doing is playing 11th fret of the G string and 14th fret of the G string here. I'm going to be tapping at the 18. And you've got this kind of really fast triplet, so you've got 3 notes, then you do it again. Yeah, so you've got, and you're kind of doing 8 taps before you change. So you do 18th fret up to 19th fret. And then the next shape he's going to do is 9th fret the G string and then 13th fret, and now you're tapping at that 16th fret with the pick up to the 18th fret. Go down 2 frets again, now you're doing 7th fret and 11th fret. And I'm tapping at the 14 and 16. And then we end it up basically doing 6th fret of the G string, 9th fret, and I'm tapping at the 13th fret with the pick. And you can end the back into the riff. You wouldn't have expected that in that kind of context. I mean, with previous guitarists, Robertson and Gary Moore or whatever, they're fiery players, but this aspect of this kind of modern edge of rock guitar at that point, I mean, this is 1983, is coming into the kind of fore, and Sykes is obviously taking all these kind of techniques on. So as I was saying, he's becoming this kind of the kind of all the tick boxes you want for like a hard rock guitarist in the 80s. Yeah. Now, of course, Thin Lizzy didn't last. It was, you know, kind of one album, and then he was asked by Coverdale to join Whitesnake, which initially refused, but then with Phil Lynott's blessing, and I'm assuming a considerable kind of wage packet, Sykes moved on to Whitesnake, and that's what we're going to listen to now. So Sykes joined Whitesnake in 1984. He tours with Whitesnake, plays with them live. Also re-records the guitar parts, so slide it in. So to be more receptive to the American market, because there's 2 different versions of the album, because the execs or whoever, Geffen, I can't remember if it was Geffen, whoever, basically didn't like the guitar tones, didn't like the mix of the album. They wanted a bit more kind of zhuzhed up for the 80s, and that's what Sykes does. You know, he brings that kind of heavier sound, but not as heavy as in the 1987 album. Now, Sykes is on record that when they were supporting Dio, kind of touring in 84, he was quite impressed with the kind of heavier sound that Dio was getting, and the kind of groove and the vibe. Same sort of thing with Van Halen. So he wanted to kind of take that to kind of the Whitesnake kind of thing. You know, before that, Whitesnake obviously very, again, blues rock. It's kind of almost like the Thin Lizzy thing again. Sykes is going to come in and blow it up like nothing else, you know. And obviously, Still of the Night, which is one of my favourite tracks, and this is where I first heard John Sykes on this album. It's, I think, quadruple tracked. I can't remember. It's on a Mesa Boogie amp, different amps. So there's a bit more saturation there. It's got this absolute kind of punch to it, the kind of guitar sounds. So I love this riff. Chords there, big chords. So there's a groove to it there with the kind of little riff he's playing, and you've got these kind of big chords. And what he does is he leads in. So you're kind of coming in on beat 4, but you want to feel beat 4 and then play 1, 2, 3, yeah, like that. And I'm doing 2, 3, 4 in the A string here, and it sounds like he's playing like maybe the second fret, the D and the G strings there, or maybe just you hear the G string second fret. Yeah. And once you've done that, and then we're going to do so I'm doing like 3, 2, 0 pull off, and then a 2, 0 pull off on the A string, and then I'm going to pick 2, 0 pan muted on the E string, you know, which gives it that kind of low end, that kind of punch to it. And then you do that again, but I'm going to start from second fret, that A string, hammer 2 to 3, back to 2, pull off to A, pull off 2 to 0, and then 2, 0 pan muted in that E string. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, and then we have this. So again, you've got this pan mute. You've got this octave shape of this F sharp, and I'm playing pan mute second fret on the E string, like a down, down, up. Then I'm going to play fourth fret of that D string, and that octave jump is that kind of contrast. It kind of really pops out. You know. And then once I've done that, I play the 4, then I play 2 on the E string, and then 2, 0 on that E string. That's the way I kind of think about it. Yeah, so I'm thinking 4, 2, 2, 0. And then we have these big, massive chords, which sound just epic with the number of tracks and the guitar tones that he's got. And that chord, I mean, you can see it sometimes transcribed different ways, but I think Sykes is probably playing like a E minor shape. The G strings maybe getting muted. You're hearing the open E, second fret the A string, second fret the D string, and then the open B and E string. Yeah. So you've basically got this chord just built up of roots and fifths. You know, doubled power chord type thing. And then I've got like a B chord here, so second fret of the A string, definitely fourth fret the D and the G, and you might even hear fourth fret the B string. Make it bigger. And you pretty much play that riff again, so you've got 2, 3, 2, 0 pull off, 2, 0 pull off, 2, 0 on the E string pan muted. Do that again. Do that again, and now we've got a B chord. So just as we did before, and then an A. So definitely open A string and second fret the D and the B strings. Maybe even hearing that second fret of the B string. And then you're back to your F sharp power chord. It's just just love that kind of love that kind of vibe there. A little bit rough playing it there, but that doesn't really matter. It has a groove to it, and it has a kind of power to it. Now, the other thing about this song is the contrasting kind of middle section, and there's loads going on there. One of the things I think is really cool about it is kind of the harmony that's going on, and really what you've got, 2 lovely chords, one of which is one of my favourite chords that I think I probably subconsciously came across, so without learning the song, like I played this chord probably from hearing and not realising, but that you can play like an E minor add 9 in this kind of middle section, and I'm playing like 7th fret of the A string, 9 in the D11 on the G string, and I've got that. It's a bit stretchy, but it's worth it. And then I've got 8th fret the B string there, and it's kind of going to a D chord by taking those fingers off, you know. But it's this chord, C add 9 sharp 11, which is one of my favourite chords. And what you're doing there is 3rd fret the A string, Yeah. And then you would have open G, and then 3rd fret the B string there, which would be a classic. You know, rose. Every rose has a thorn, poison, whatever. I wanted dead alive. But the cool note is this F sharp, this sharp 11. So my 3rd finger's playing 4th fret of that D string there. And that crops up in Is This Love as well. So we've got these lovely chords, and then the most epic bit. So this is the epic part of the song. This is kind of a little chill bit, which I believe Sykes is on record as saying he kind of wrote that like a long time ago when he was young in his mum's kitchen or whatever, even though David Coverdale claimed he wrote it, but you know, their whole relationship is a pretty much he said, they said type thing. But this is a really cool example of this kind of guitar orchestration thing that Vi mentioned in a recent interview about Sykes, where you've got all these kind of parts. Now obviously it's a synth that's playing it on the recording, but live Sykes would play this in the guitar, and Whitesnake would do it in the guitars as well. So we've got a classical sounding thing, because we've got this E minor, typical descent, you know, root note, flat 7, kind of flat 6, E, D and C, but we've got this kind of double hit on it, this Sykes signature double hit in the notes, yeah, which of course you can hear later on Blue Murder and various other parts he was playing on the Whitesnake album. So what we're doing here is we're going to play 7th fret the A string, 4th, 5th and 4th fret the D string. Yeah, that's the first bit. But of course you're double hitting all that. Yeah, so if you're using your strict alternative picking, that's like down up in each note. Yeah, then you do that again. Then we transfer the bass note to C. So I'm now doing the 3rd fret the A string, but I'm still doing the 4, 5, 4 in the D string. Do that twice. Then we move up to D in the bass note, so we do 5th note in the A string, and then the 4, 5, 4 in the D string. So that kind of first 4 bar things, like, and do that again. Down to the C, then C, then D. And you would do it all again. After the 8th bar, there's a little variation where he brings in the way Sykes plays it is an open B string. Sometimes you'll see transcriptions with it played in the G string, but I'll play it like Sykes does, where he does the 7, 4, 5, 4. And then you're going to jump up to this B string here, open with palm mute as well, and that's quite tricky. I mean, this is quite a cool little picking exercise if you want to take something that's from a song and musical to work in your kind of alternate picking. That little jump. Yeah, I hit the G string there, and that's what can happen if you're not kind of paying attention. So you want to jump over, hit that open B string, and then do 5, 4, 5 on that D string again. Then you climb down 7, E to the D, so 5th fret that A string. Then you go to the C in the bass note, and the little high note he brings in here is 3rd fret of that D string there. So you've kind of got your first half of the bar, and then your second half of the bar is the, and then you climb back up to the E again. So I think what's really effective about this whole bit is it builds the tension that is then kind of released in the ridiculous kind of solo run that he does. And you've got this kind of classic and this E, but because you're double hitting it, it adds that extra kind of tension to things, and it's such an epic kind of sound. Yeah, and of course after that we have something that sounds like this. It's awesome bit of use of triads again, or kind of power chords and triads that we mentioned, way back with the kind of Tygers of Pan Tang era Sykes kind of playing. And what he's doing here, I've seen him play this a couple of different ways, but you want a big beefy E power chord to begin with, so you could do the thing we talked about earlier, where you've got the open E string, second fret A and the D, and an open B and the E string, the G string being muted. Or you can play the stacked chord like that, where you're barring the second fret of the A and D, then you've got fourth fret the B string with the third finger, and then fifth fret of that B string there. So it's kind of the same notes, just two different ways of playing it. And then what we've got after that basically is like a D power chord. Again, you can play that two different ways. If you're down here, so I've got double hit on the E string pan mute there. You can play it there, or you could do, yeah, I'm just playing open D string, second fret the G string, and third fret the B string there. Yeah. So I saw Sykes play it two different ways. Yeah. And then our little pairing, I'm playing like a G power chord up here. So I've got 5th fret the D string, 7th fret G, 8th fret the B string. Again, you play the kind of E string pan muted before that. And then what I'm going to do is play a little chunk of like a D triad here. So you can think of 7th fret of the D, G and B strings. Yeah. So you can either play a chord shape, but you want to add a little bit of vibrato into this, so whatever fingers you're using, you can wiggle the string, and this is what makes the difference. This is what makes this triadic power chord riff really come alive. The way that Sykes adds vibrato to his chords just adds even more excitement to the stuff. Yeah. Then you go down to the C, so I'm playing like, you can think of the same shape down 2 frets, 5th fret the D, G and B. If you're holding this kind of shape or power chord shape, you hit that, you slide up to the D again. Then you have this, yeah. So what we're doing is we're sliding up to kind of like a G chord here, but again I'm thinking of it more of a triad. You can hear him slide up the A string, but I'm thinking 12th fret of the D, G and B strings. I use my 4th finger for that. But what he does here that can be hard to hear in the recording when everything's going on is he actually plays a slightly kind of funky strum in this. So he's doing like a down, up, up before it goes to the next chord. So you've got this, and the next chord is a D triad. So I'm playing 12th fret of the D string, 11 in the G, 10th fret the B string there. Again, I apply vibrato to it, so it's. And before I do that chord, so I've got like down, up, up. You know, there's a little percussive kind of sound before he does this change to the D chord. And you have this. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to slide now to this A triad. So I'm sliding up the D string with the 3rd finger to get the 11th fret D, 1st fret is in 9th fret the G, and then my middle finger's in 10th fret that B string there. And again, we got another one of those kind of down, up, ups. And then a little percussive. So the first time you play it, it ends in an F, so that kind of goes yeah, and that kind of jars a little bit with the E minor tonality here. It's known as kind of Phrygian cadence, so it just kind of gives you a, and then you're back to, you know. Yeah, and this little bit here, so watch when you're doing, and then he goes to an E chord at the very end, the second time through. So you go through all that again. And that's your kind of like an 8-bar kind of riff, but it's just so epic sounding. I think because you've got these massive chords, these stacked kind of 5th chords, and this movement, again applying all this vibrato. You know, it just makes everything much bigger. You know, this is one, obviously it's kind of multi-tracked as we said, but it's just kind of this one guitar, you know. Still the Night, it's probably my favourite song off that album. It's probably a lot of people's favourite songs. It's kind of the first song on the album. It was a single, but it's just this, if you compare that Whitesnake to say Moody Era, you know, Thankyou as Whitesnake, it's just night and day. You've got this real heavy hitting kind of for the time modern kind of rock sound. So another song I want to talk about is This Love. So let's listen to it now. So this iconic ballad from Whitesnake's 1987 album. This is a great use. I kind of alluded to this in Still of the Night. Some of these lovely harmonies that are coming on in this kind of tune. And for this recording, on a lot of clean parts, Sykes like to use these 61 strats. That's why I'm going to grab the Strat for this. Just so it's got a bit more of a kind of sparkly quality to it compared to the Les Paul. And what he's doing here is this is pretty much E minor. A little bit of chorus, a little bit of delay on there. It is the 80s. But he's got this lovely... This chord here that was in Still of the Night, you know. Yeah. But we've got this moving on the bass, the B. So, I mean, there's different ways you can view these kind of chords, you know, the context E minor. But you've got this sound... predominantly kind of B minor sound here, with the E, and then you move it up to this, you know, say it was a C add 9 sharp 11, but with this context is kind of like this E minor equality with the 9th, the C in the bass, and I love the use of the kind of E minor part, but then using these harmonics just to add in the sound of these extended intervals, and that's what makes it sound a little bit richer, a little bit more kind of more interesting. It's not just your bog standard major minors and power chords and stuff here. Yeah, so you're doing those harmonics at the D, B and G string 7th fret. Sometimes you might hear 5th fret sort of thing, but that is the general idea. So I'm doing 2nd A string, 4th D, open G string. Then I'm doing, you know, 3rd fret A, 4th on that D, and then you're coming down from the B, open G string. Yeah. And then of course I have the classic. Man, I always love that chord at the end there. And this is interesting. So you can think of it from a triad point of view, which is kind of a little E minor, D, C, G, you know, to this F chord, which we'll talk about. But really with the bass movement, it's actually like a C major 7, B minor 7, A minor 7, G. You know, almost jazz harmony there, quite, but it's just this idea of more rich, much richer kind of harmony. So what you're doing here is you're playing like 9th fret in the D and G, 7 on the B string. And I could play it like that. Then I'm playing 7th fret of the D string, so it's a little D triad. Again, it's part with the bass of like a B minor 7, but you've got a D major triad and a B major 7, a B minor 7 there. So I'm doing 7th fret the D, G and B. Then I do 5th fret the D, G, B. So like a C triad. Then I've got a G triad, so I'm playing that 5, 4, 3 on the D, G and B strings. Then we have this amazing chord here. So you end up playing like an F. It's basically an F triad with a C in the bass, but the overall vibe, that chord there, and it's related to this dreamy chord here that is in Still of the Night, and we've got it here as well. Because what you've got there, basically, you've got your root note, then your 5th, and then a 9th, but this note here, that's a little kind of sharp 11, Lydian kind of vibes, sharp 11 there. And then it ends it with the, you know, 1st fret the B string, then 2nd fret the A string. There's to kind of almost resolve the chord in a way. It's just such a lovely kind of ballad. And if you listen to the 30th anniversary of 1987, obviously there's some demo recordings in there, and you can hear how they kind of started with the chorus. And the chorus it starts with the C in the bass. you got that chord. And back into that again. You know, so they might have come up with the chorus bit first, who knows, but it's really cool because I think Coverdale says a song that's going to take over the world or something in the kind of demo recording, and it pretty much the album did. You know, I think that album, 1987 album's kind of like 25 million copies sold or something, so it really launched and brought Whitesnake back from the death. Unfortunately, of course, John Sykes, David Coverdale, very famously fell out. Well, Coverdale fired everyone in the band. There's a lot of contention about what actually happened, but it's a shame because we never ever got to hear that album kind of being toured. Obviously Sykes had toured with Whitesnake anyway, but we never got to hear a lot of these songs played with Sykes on guitar. But after leaving Whitesnake, Sykes heads out and kind of on his own, but in a new project called Blue Murder, and that's the songs we're going to look at next. So after Whitesnake, Sykes joins up with Tony Franklin and Carmine Appice on drums in the band Blue Murder. There was actually a couple of iterations before with Cozy Pearl on drums, and initially Ray Gillen had sung vocals on the demos, but eventually John Sykes was persuaded to front the band himself, make a trio and sing the vocals. So this is where we begin to see that Sykes, all the ridiculous stuff that he's doing in the guitar, he's a phenomenal singer as well, and he's doing the two at the same time, which if you've ever tried before is not easy. So the first album, Blue Murder, is released in 1989, and I was just playing Billy there, and I wanted to look at some of the guitar elements that are happening in Billy because it's one of my favourite tracks. So the first thing you can hear is we've got a little bit, I mean the guitar sound here is pretty much the same sound that he used on 1987 album Whitesnake. Bob Rock's again involved, and basically you can hear in this little chorus, it's basically the little bit from Still in the Night. This little kind of riff in the chorus, it's formed like a C chord and a D chord, an E minor. So we've got our usual, 3, 4, 5, 3, but all double picked Sykes style. We've got that a little bit, and then we've got the D. And it sounds like he does like a 5 hit, and the B, second fret, the A string, and the E string. Then we have this verse riff. Yeah, and what he's playing here basically it's like an E minor chord. It's like an E minor 7, but you're hearing pretty much like the G power chord part of it. What I mean by that is you're kind of fretting 7th fret the A string here with the middle finger. My first finger is doing 5th fret the G, 5th fret the D, and then my third finger's in 7 with the G, and then my pinky's on the 8th fret of that B string there. So you got that chord, and then we're having this, we got that down up on the 7th fret, A string, 5th fret, and then 2nd fret. So it's the E, G, and a B there. Yeah. The other thing I want to listen to is this solo. So I've got it isolated here. This is Sykes' solo from Billy. Awesome. So you can use the elements of stuff we already talked about. You hear the big overbends, the fast kind of runs. But I want to talk about this little intro bit here. Now, I've talked about Sykes adding in all these guitar specific sounds, make the guitar much bigger. I mean, there's only one guitar in this. This is a trio we're talking about here, and this is a very typical kind of guitar trick, the old kind of rolling harmonics. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing like a pull off 5-3-0 on the G string. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly put my right hand, like the edge of my fourth finger or the edge of the heel, down the string and then move it down. So I'm hitting all these harmonic nodes as I'm moving down the string. So that's an awesome way to enter a guitar solo. You know, you could do a pick scrape, I guess, or you could do the, you know, kind of go into it. So that's Billy, which was obviously on the first album, Blue Murder. I mean, there was Ptolemy as well. There was quite a few. Jelly Roll was a hit, or a minor kind of hit. But I want to look at a track or two from Nothing But Trouble, which is Blue Murder's next album. So let's have a listen.
Promise heaven, but hell is all I see. To rise and know the wind. There's a Lord above, come rescue me. To rise and know the wind. Cry for love, die for love. In the holy name of Jesus.
Cry for Love of Nothing But Trouble. I love the heaviness of this riff. So this, again, there's a little allude to Still the Night and stuff in this, but this kind of groove and kind of power of this is what really kind of love about it. And what Sykes is doing here is he's playing, it's an F sharp minor, and we're playing these F sharp power chords, pan muted, so I'm like second fret E, fourth and A in the D string. Then I'm going to do an E power chord in that, so you've got two hits, downstrokes, and that F sharp power chord. Then I've got a power chord, open E power chord, sorry, and I'm barring the second fret A and D strings, pan muted again, back to the F sharp. And then I go up to this A power chord here, so open A string and then barring second fret in the D and G. So that contrast of that heavy, just love that kind of, you know, it's pretty much metal, that with the pan mutes. And then we have, which you may have heard before, this is a little thing from Still in the Night. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a little hammer and pull off, 2-3-2, pull off to the open A string, and then I do pull off 2-0, and then I do a pan mute 2-0 on that E string. Yeah, that little thing there. So again, I don't know if Sykes is, he's either little motifs he's referencing stuff, or he just loves these little sounds, and these are part of his signature kind of riffage, you know. And then once you've done that, we have this kind of little sus. So I'm playing like 5th fret of the B string, 4th fret of the D and the G's. That's kind of bar with the first finger and second, third there. Take that finger off the B string, so I've now got 4th fret of the D, G and B strings. Yeah, like that. And then you're back into, and that little bit there is we're now going to play like B power chords. I'm doing second fret A, 4 in the D and the G, and then we've got an E power chord, and then the first fret, that E string there, to lead back into the, so there's a groove to it that I really love as well. As I said, sadly, Blue Murder didn't really go anywhere. I guess they get hit a little bit by the kind of grunge explosion. I mean, they were popular in Japan and stuff. But after this point, it's pretty much John Sykes releasing solo material. His first album, solo album, is Out of My Tree, which he does in '95. You know, he's got a ballad one, but there was one later on as well, Nuclear Cowboy, where he started adding some beats and things in. But my favourite album, probably from his solo era, is 20th Century. So let's have a listen to a track from that.
Cautionary warning I propose to you.
So this track, Cautionary Warning, is on 20th Century. It's my favourite song on that album. And of course, we've got some more Sykes double picking. So this opening riff, you know, all these little motif signatures that keep cropping up. And what we're doing here is like pan mute, A string, twice. Then we get 7th fret A string, 5th fret D string, back to 7th fret A string. Then the open A string again, 3rd fret A string. And then we've got a little 5/4 in the D string. That little combo that he likes. But I love this little kind of chorus a bit. This little bit here. And what he's doing here is he's kind of playing like an F power chord. So I'm playing like 3rd fret D, 5th in the G, and then I've got 6th fret, that kind of B string there. So I'm hitting that chord twice. Then I'm pan muting that where my first finger is, 3rd fret, that D string. Do that twice, then do it again. But I hit that pan mute once, and I'm going to move the note, the B string, back a fret. So I'm the 5th fret, the B string, 5th in the G, and 3rd on the D string. So it kind of goes. So you've got that little feel. And then we move into this next chord. And what I'm doing here is I'm keeping my 3rd and 4th fingers where it is, but I'm moving the bass note to a D and A string, which I play with the middle finger. Do the same thing again with the pinky onto the 5th fret and back off. And then this A chord here, it's like an open A string, 2nd fret D, 5th fret the G string, I think. Yeah, and you've got the same thing. Now I think what he does here is he plays like 3rd fret the B string, but you're keeping that first finger on the 2nd fret the D string, so you've got the. So you're hearing that kind of that note of that D to that C. Then he plays like a G power chord down here, I think. So you've got 3rd fret the E string, open D and G strings, and then the offbeats you're hitting the top 2 strings of the B and E strings, but you've got them played with the 3rd and 4th finger at the 3rd fret there. First time he does like a pick scrape and you go through it all again. And notice the chord changes are happening kind of the end of beat 4. So you're on the beat here. And this little bit here, basically, we've got a little run. He does the. So I'm doing like I've got that G chord. So I'm alternating between pan mute, the E string 3rd fret up to the top strings. Then we have this. So I'm doing here is playing 3rd fret, that E string pan muted, open E string, 1 3 in E string. Then I think it does 3 in A string, pan muted, 3 0 in E string. You know, and then we've got these 3 chords. So it's like a D power chord, open D string, but they come on the offbeat here, so you've just done this. So again, I'm kind of playing that with upstroke. And then I've got this. So I've got the D power chord, open D string, 2nd fret G, 3rd fret B. Then I've got this, I think it's probably this kind of big stack power chord again, so it could be this. But I think easier it might be if this guy here, you know, we've looked at many times, open E string, 2nd fret A and the D strings. Pan mute, well, not muted, but it's muted G string with the underside of the 3rd finger here, and then open B and E string. And we end it with a, you know, a little bit Is This Love kind of vibe again with that chord. So it could be that it's a fuller chord, so you've got maybe your thumb on the first fret, sorry, of the E string, and you get 3rd in the A and D, open G string, and then first finger on that B string there. That kind of big rich chord, you know. Yeah, I just love that. So again, it's all these little double pick things, big chords. You know, there's no space. The guitar is up in forefront. But let's have listen to the guitar solo from the song. So here it is here. Awesome, yeah. So there's a lot of fast picking, crazy stuff in there, but I love this little bit that he plays here. And this is a great example of using different kind of rhythmical ideas in your soloing. So he plays this, oops. So he does this kind of little arpeggiated idea. Now this is all over, sounds like a kind of E minor 9 kind of chord. You know, you can view that as like a G major 7 with E in the bass, or really, you know, that kind of sound. So you're hearing the 9th in there, but it plays this. First off, he slides to that note, so that kind of major 7 against the E catches the ear. You do 11th fret, then 9, 10 in the A string. Then it's all kind of quarter note triplets here. Obviously the tune's really fast, so it's kind of like a triplet feel. I'm going to do 9 on the D, 9 in the G, then 11 in the G there. Like that sort of feel. And then another little group of notes, of 3 notes, is 12 in the D. So I kind of move up here, 12 in the D, 12 in the G, back to 12 in the D. You know, it's over that E, that's like a flat 7, flat 3, flat 7, you know. Yeah, all even kind of triplets here. Then I'm going to do 10 in the B string, then 12 in the G, 12 in the B. So you've got this. And then you've got 11 in the G, 10, 12 in the high E. Yeah. I just love the wide intervallic kind of sound of that. And then you have 10 in the B, 14 in the high E, back to 10 in the B. And then you end it with 14th fret, that high E string, which of course is that 9th interval I was talking about, with a bit of vibrato on it, almost a half step up kind of vibe. So that little arpeggiated bit. Yeah, and it's that really cool kind of feel. So that's a cool riff or line to play over kind of an E minor. And it's again this thing with the depth of kind of Sykes playing, or these sounds that you're hearing, and rather than just usual kind of pentatonic runs. And obviously the solo's got some fast, you know, string blistering runs in it again. Yeah. So that's there's a whole bunch of kind of career of Sykes that I kind of wanted to look at as a kind of tribute to the man. As I said, there's a whole load of classic hard rock guitar things in there, pick scrapes, pinch harmonics, rolling harmonics, really fast picking. Not much whammy bar use, a little bit when he was using the Sharbo Whitesnake, and maybe later on some of his solo stuff. But that kind of, that Page Blackmore core, bluesy core, playing with Thin Lizzy, and then that kind of big sound like Sykes got in the recording is really kind of quintessential to, you know, his style. And unfortunately, he went pretty much underground after kind of the solo albums. Allegedly, or you know, he was in the working on some new stuff. Sadly, of course, not to be, unfortunately. So if there's anything on this that you've not heard before from Sykes, you want to go and check out some of his earlier stuff, please do. I'm going to post the links in the video info with lots of videos, links to albums and things that you can go and listen to, and just appreciate the awesomeness that was John Sykes.